Welcome into Boxing Scene Today. That's right. The champs are on the road, so we're coming at you from my home studio. But it's something you hear all the time in boxing. Got nothing to lose, especially when you're taking on the best. Hey, what could possibly happen? Well, Errol Spence Jr. found out against Terence Crawford what exactly could happen, a one-sided beating from a guy who might go down as the GOAT. But what is his future? Timothy Bradley had some strong words about who to fight and who not to fight. To help me break it down, the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi. Well, Tim Bradley said, talking about Errol Spence Jr., do not fight Vergil Ortiz. It is bad for you. He saw neurological damage in the last fight against Terence Crawford, a heavy puncher and a guy that we stood next to, Chris, in Fresno, who is a big dude, definitely in his prime, would be a bad fight for Errol Spence Jr. What do you think of that comeback?
Man, it's a tough one. And Errol Spence, a few years ago, his nickname was essentially no tune-ups because the guy would be out of the ring for 12 months, 15 months and go right into a big fight. You're fighting guys like Danny Garcia, and whoever else, had a title at the time, collecting titles. So he kind of has that mindset, always has, even if he's been out of the ring for, a year. He's never, he lost his last fight. He was undefeated up until then. But he would come right into big fights. And it seems like he kind of wants to do that again. But man, Vergil Ortiz is a monster. For him to come back off of essentially a 2 year layoff and coming off a really bad beating from Terence Crawford, where he was stopped brutally, to go right to the top of the division just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And especially because Spence is really popular. He sells tickets. He doesn't need to be in a massive fight every single time out. I think it would be a good idea to have him not necessarily fight a tune-up fight, but fight a fight where it would be more of a showcase to see what he's got. Because Tim said he thought he saw some neurological damage. I didn't like the way that Errol looked in the fight against Terence Crawford. He wasn't taking the punches well right out of the gate. Crawford is obviously a good knockout puncher, but I mean, getting dropped with jabs early in a fight, it's not the Spence that we're used to seeing. So we really got to see how much is left of Errol Spence. And I think going right into a Vergil Ortiz fight just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Paulie, we've seen those fights where you are uncomfortable sitting there watching it, knowing that a guy is
Yeah.
taking a beating he's never going to come back from, that kind of thing. Did you get that feeling or that sense from the Crawford fight? He was tactically outmatched, but to Chris's point, he was getting floored by punches that we'd seen him eat previously. What was your thought on the fight as you were watching it?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't gonna think as I'm watching it that he's gonna take a long layoff and then come back against another monster. I mean, usually when you have these kind of beatings, you probably have to work your way back. It's the way it's supposed to be. Even from the perspective of a sporting perspective, not just in terms of meritorious. He's been an ex-champion and he was a good, solid reigning world champion who made some good defenses against good fighters. But dude, I mean, he got the ring mop with him by Crawford. So, you don't take a long layoff from that and then just go back into another monster fight. I don't know. I don't know how you sell these things today. I mean, I don't know how they sell. I think it's the stupidity of society at this point. Like, I don't know how anybody would buy this fight. I know it's an old Dallas showdown and all that stuff, but you would have to figure Spence would have to show that there's something there before he can, you can make the Vergil Ortiz fight.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the Ortiz fight can't be made, but you got to sort of clean him up first. You've got to show us that he can go in against a middle tier opponent. I don't care about the no tune-ups. You got your ass whipped all over the ring. They cleaned the ring with your face. Crawford did. So you got to get a tune-up before the Ortiz fight. Or it's just not a good look to just go right into the Ortiz fight like that. So I don't think I don't think the fight is appealing. Nothing about it interests me. But if Spence would come in against even a solid top 15 opponent, I wouldn't mind seeing that, because he's coming off a bad loss. So I wouldn't mind seeing that and seeing how he looked in that fight. If he could look really good in that fight, you get the cleanup win, but you also get to gauge where he's at. Because if he struggles against a guy like that, then you don't even have to make the Vergil Ortiz fight and waste everybody's time. Unless PBC know he's already shot and they don't want to risk him against a top 15 guy who might make him look bad, because then you can't sell the
Can't
Vergil
cash him
fight.
out. Yeah.
Maybe you just cash him out. But at that point, what are you doing? What are you just prostituting them then? You just, anything for money? You just getting him run over like a train by Vergil Ortiz? Is that really entertaining to anybody? I don't know. I personally not interested in the fight at all. I don't think it does anything for anybody. except maybe for Vergil, it elevates him with another big win. I think it would be an easy fight for Vergil at this point. I'd like to see Spence against top 15 guy just to see where he's at personally. So I could personally gauge and make up my mind as to whether I want to see the Vergil Ortiz fight. And I think that's the way you used to make these kind of fights first. Now they just kind of just skip over it and go right to it. I don't know. At this point, when you're in a situation like that, I don't know where Spence's mind is at, but it doesn't matter if you've been a world champion. It doesn't matter if you got your ass whooped like that. You probably going against a top 15 guy. You don't go in a main event. You don't do it on pay-per-view. Maybe you do it on a pay-per-view undercard. Maybe you go in a co-main event against underneath the championship level fight. You got to eat humble pie. You got your ass whipped all over the place, so you should eat humble pie. But you're just one fight away from being back in the circle, back in the mix, in a huge stadium fight against Vergil Ortiz. So go and do it. This is the way it's supposed to be done. There's a proper process to doing these things. I'm not totally against it if it's done right, but if it's done like this, the fight there's no interest for me in that fight.
But what I'm curious about, Paulie, talks about the promotion. You talk about the selling power of Errol Spence Jr. Chris, whose decision is it? If you saw tomorrow, like say tomorrow, we wake up and go Vergil Ortiz versus Errol Spence Jr. booked for later in the year. Errol Spence Jr. isn't new in this sport. He is a ticket seller. He does have a lot of power. He can say no. Who would you blame should we see that fight at the end of the year? Because this is a guy. This is not a new professional. This is a guy with a lot of years. It'll have to be at least partially his decision. What's your thought on it?
Well, he's not gonna turn it down. I'm telling you that right now. He's the kind of guy who wants the biggest fights. He still believes in himself, I'm sure. But also, it's a big price tag on that fight. That's going to be a huge, huge fight. He's going to make a ton of money in that fight. They both will. You put that in Dallas. You got the Mexican fan base behind Vergil. He's a Texan too, originally. So, and then you got the Dallas crowd, which is so behind Spence. I've been to. I fought Spence, but I fought him in New York. But I've been to those fights in Dallas, in Texas too. Man, the dude sells. He's super popular. He's got a really fun style. So, people miss him. People, even when he was out of the ring all those years and being inactive, people always wanted him back. There is a hunger for what he brings to the table. And I think that's kind of what's going on with the promoters and the managers of this situation. Just like the champ said, like, I think from a fan perspective, no, I don't think we're really that interested in it. From a fight expert, I'm certainly not ready for it. And champ, you made me think of a lot of things when you were talking. That's why I love doing these. But so when I fought Amir Khan, I had lost the fight, but I fought really well, and it was a good fight, and people were really high on me at the moment. And Steven Espinoza of Showtime said, "Well, he's coming off of 2 losses. He can't come back on another big fight." So then I had to fight Eric Bonet on the undercard of a Danny Jacobs fight at the Barclays a couple months later, and then I got the Errol Spence fight after that to build up, get a win. It looked good in a fight, and then you go to the next fight. Exactly how it's always been done. So it's really strange that they're skipping what we normally do for Errol Spence to jump right into a big fight. But again, it's the power of the dollar. They know it'll sell. They know that there is a fan base for Errol that's already built in, and it's a bit of a cash out too. You're using him to introduce Vergil's fan base to a whole new base. And potentially take the reins moving forward. So I understand from a dollars and cents standpoint what they're doing, but I just don't know if the fan base is really going to accept that coming off of such a bad beating with Crawford.
And also, Paulie, what I'm curious about is what would you want to see in a top 15 matchup? Meaning, Vergil Ortiz beat Bohachek. He beat Madrimov. He looks excellent in both fights. He is a big dude, very hard puncher. Once again, we met him in Fresno, and I was amazed at how big the guy is from the bottom up. The idea that could he look so good that you think he has a shot, or is it looking good enough to get in the ring? Because he's not going to face somebody who really does everything Vergil Ortiz does, man. What's your thought on it?
Well, I'm not going to actually disagree with you, Jimmy. I don't think he looked great in the Bohachek fight. We went down twice. I would rather see the Bohachek rematch than the Errol Spence fight, first and foremost. It's a better fight. It's a tougher
Nobody else
fight.
wants to see that one, though, Paulie. That's rough.
Well, that's because they're morons. Good, honestly, that's a way better fight. Who wants to see Vergil run over Errol Spence for no reason? There's absolutely nothing. You got to be a real sadistic MFer to want to see that Vergil Ortiz against Errol Spence. All he's going to do is run him over. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be really sadistic and what do they call sadist? Is that the word, sadist?
Yeah, be sadistic. Yeah.
You gotta be a real prick to want to watch that fight, like, because there's nothing good about it. There's not gonna be anything entertaining. Vergil is gonna crush him. So I don't want to see the fight. I would rather see Vergil and Bohachek rematch. Bohachek is a monster. Vergil is a monster. 2 great fighters. I would rather see that fight. But I'm not gonna get it because I'm the only normal thinking one here in this freaking industry, unfortunately.
Paulie for
So
promoter. Let's get Paulie in the promoting game. He's a good
matchmaker.
matchmaker. He
So
understands the marketing.
so in what we're gonna get, if we're gonna get it the way we're gonna get it, then I'll say this: put Errol in a co-main event against Vergil. I'm not against Vergil. In a Vergil on a card. Maybe they're both from Dallas, right? So maybe put it in with a Mavericks play. Make Vergil a main event against a top 10 opponent, and then put Errol in the co-main event against a top 15 opponent. They both win, and then okay, now you sell it to me. Build it up for me. Make it appeasing. Don't, because just selling me names shouldn't make it appeasing. I'm too intelligent for that. I'm not one of these morons. You're not gonna sell me names. Make it appeasing. Make Vergil in a main event, and Errol in the co-main event. I know Errol's Mr. Big Time, Mr. I don't do tune-ups. I don't do this, buddy. You got your ass whooped all over the ring. You're gonna do a tune-up. You're gonna do it in the co-main. You're gonna do it underneath Vergil, and then we're gonna put you both in a main event in the stadium against one another, where it's gonna sell out. It's gonna be a monster show, and at least you're giving me a presentation like, okay, we set this up the right way. Now you're not making a jerk off out of me by getting me a guy you just peeled off the canvas, so we can peel him off the canvas again when he fights Vergil. And I'm gonna be the idiot to say, oh wow, it's gonna be a great fight. Don't make a jerk off out of me. Just it's. I want to say something, but I don't think it's YouTube friendly.
You insulted him a little bit.
So I'll stop it there. But yeah. That's it. I mean, that's where I want to. All right. Maybe we can cut this part. That's what we can cut this part if it doesn't go good. Don't jerk me off, and I won't come in your face. All right, bro. Don't make a moron out of me. All right, bro. That's it. Stop with the crap already. All right. Don't give me this fight. Don't give me this fight unless you're gonna properly set it up. That's it. If you're gonna otherwise, like I said, I want to see Vergil and Boachuk more than I want to see Vergil and Spence. That's it.
That's it. It's very, very simple. Last question I have for you, Chris. Did Errol Spence Jr. kind of corner himself a little bit? You said his nickname is No Tune-Ups. I don't do that. The idea that he kind of cornered himself in a time when he might need a tune-up, bad idea as a pro? Tell me about it.
Listen, I mean, you can say that, whatever, but like that was a while ago. You don't have to still be that guy. And also, he was doing it when he was undefeated. He's not undefeated anymore. He has a loss. He lost to Terence Crawford. He got beat up. He took a bad beating, got stopped. So you can't be that guy anymore. You're no longer the boogeyman. You're no longer a champion. You're going to be in a new weight class now. So I don't think that he's cornered himself into being that guy that has to be no tune-up guy right into big fights, because again, we're talking about a fight that really doesn't really taste good, from looking at it, from this perspective. But Paulie, I like when you wear the sunglasses. You really hold no punches when those shades are on.
It's different, Paulie. It's shades, Paulie. Different guy. But Chris, is there anybody else at 54 that it's a big fight that isn't Vergil Ortiz, or do you see like a 10 to 15 guy? So 54 is just so challenging right now. Is there another big fight that isn't Vergil? Is that possible, Chris?
Yeah, I would like to say a top 15 guy, but it's a deep weight class anyway. Even the guys at top 15 are tough. No name really comes to mind right away, but I don't think it really matters. He's so popular in that Dallas area, and people will be so happy that he's back. If he goes out there and looks halfway decent, he'll be able to step right into a big fight with any of those top guys at 54. But yeah, I think just getting him a win, and also just seeing that he can get through training camp, seeing that he can get to a fight, I think would be important to make sure that they can make that bigger fight down the line.
Well, he's a huge name in the sport of boxing, and whatever he does will make news, and we'll talk about it right here on Boxing Scene Today. Join us, find out why millions are watching.